people say football is the world's game, but there's another truth buried under the goals and rivalries. Football is also a business, a vast, humming economy that touches broadcast towers, global brands, stadium engineers, agents, and governments. How did a pastime played with a pig's bladder, a farmer's field, and raw passion become a global industry worth billions? This is the story of money, ambition, and the slow, sometimes violent, shaping of a modern sporting empire. For centuries, football was local and informal. Villages played for bragging rights. Schoolboys shaped rules in dusty yards. The game's first major shift happened when societies industrialized, and people sought mass entertainment, an audience for spectacle. Two things transformed the game into a product you could sell: mass media and organized competition. Radio brought games into living rooms, and then television gave football a picture, moving fans from the terraces into households. When a match could be seen by millions, football stopped being just a match. It became programming. It became advertising space. It became a media property. Television was the accelerant. In the United Kingdom, the 1990s marked a decisive turning point. In 1992, top English clubs broke away from the Football League and formed the Premier League. That move was driven by a simple business idea. Clubs wanted to control their own TV rights and maximize income. The breakaway allowed clubs to negotiate centralized deals and sell a consumer product, live football on a scale unseen before.
And we're going to give the viewing public something that they've never had before.
The first rights cycle after 1992 saw UK broadcasters invest heavily in live games. And for the next generation, televised football became a staple of primetime programming. Across the continent, UEFA rebranded the European Cup as the UEFA Champions League in 1992-93. That rebrand transformed a knockout competition into a global group stage presentation, providing broadcasters with predictable, repeatable, primetime matches that advertisers craved. The Champions League became a marquee property, and its value helped clubs demand higher broadcast fees and sponsorship money. With TV money flowing, clubs could pay bigger wages, buy better players, and build bigger stadiums. And because television wanted drama, the commercial pressure pushed leagues to package, promote, and standardize, turning local rivalries into global narratives. Television created attention, which in turn attracted brands. The first era of sponsorship was small and regional, but as TV audiences ballooned, global brands realized they could buy exposure by wearing a club's shirt or sponsoring a competition. A partner who put their logo on a team's chest was now visible to millions of homes and billions of viewers over seasons. Sponsorships changed the economics of clubs. Advertisement revenue, from shirt deals to global tours and licensing, became a steady income stream. Clubs opened commercial departments, hired salespeople, and started thinking like corporations. No longer were teams purely competitive units. They were also brands to be developed, expanded, and monetized. Money created its own industry, player agents. Suddenly, top players were not just athletes, they were assets. Clubs traded them for enormous transfer fees, and agents brokered deals, working across borders. Transfer fees that once might have been hundreds or thousands became millions, then tens of millions, then hundreds of millions. A single blockbuster transfer could shift a club's trajectory. Higher expectations, greater sponsorship deals, and more TV attention. Bigger transfer markets fed higher wages, and the whole system became a cycle. Money bought success. Success attracted more money. Today, the concentration of revenue is astonishing. The world's top clubs generate enormous sums. In the 2023-24 season, the elite clubs, the top 20, collectively recorded about Euro 11.2 billion in revenue, driven by broadcast, match day, and commercial income. That is not a small ecosystem. It is a powerful industry where a handful of clubs command the lion's share of global attention and wallets. This concentration has policy and ethical consequences. Wealthy clubs can outspend rivals, lure top players, and dominate competitions. That imbalance prompted proposals for revenue sharing, luxury taxes, and, at times, radical ideas like the European Super League. An investor-dashed plan to lock elite clubs into a perpetual profit machine. The backlash to that plan in 2021 showed how fans, politicians, and regulators could push back when they felt football's soul was being sold. Then there is the World Cup. FIFA's tournament is not just a sport, it is a broadcasting bonanza. The 2018 World Cup, for example, attracted a combined audience of roughly 3.572 billion viewers, more than half the planet. That astronomical scale explains why broadcasters and sponsors chase World Cup rights at furious prices. Exposure on that stage translates directly into advertising money, global reach, and cultural cachet. FIFA's commercial model: selling broadcasting rights, hospitality, sponsorship packages, and licensing turbocharged the sport's global revenues and demonstrated how a single tournament can reshape economies and corporate strategies for years. Matchday revenues, ticketing, hospitality, merchandise remain important, but stadiums themselves became commercial projects. Modern arenas are multi-use corporate operations. Naming rights, premium seating, concerts, and tourism. Real estate developers, banks, and investors realized stadiums could be turned into recurring revenue machines, not just matchday venues. Investing in stadiums became a strategic decision. Renovations and new builds were designed to boost matchday earnings and improve commercial activities all season. Clubs that modernized often saw matchday revenues and sponsorship values climb dramatically. Broadcasting kept evolving. Early pay TV deals transformed the economics of leagues. More recently, streaming and global distribution fractured audiences, but also opened new opportunities. The Premier League's domestic and international deals now reach billions in value, and international rights have become as important, sometimes more important, than local ticket sales. The product is sold continent by continent, platform by platform. This digital change also created fragmentation, subscription fatigue among fans, piracy challenges, and a constant negotiation over who owns and controls the viewer relationship. But it also made football accessible in places where infrastructure once made coverage impossible. New markets meant new fans, and new fans meant new sponsors and new revenue lines. This is where the sensitivity lies. Money brought glories and modern comforts, but it also brought tensions. Fans worry that football's cultural heart is being hollowed out. Ticket prices have risen, matchday traditions have been commercialized. Local identities feel under pressure from global brand strategies. At the same time, money has enabled sporting excellence, investment in youth academies, women's football growth, infrastructure improvements, and community programs. The challenge for the sport is balancing commerce with authenticity, ensuring football remains not only profitable, but also accessible, civic, and emotionally meaningful. Over the last 2 decades, ownership models have shifted. Private equity, sovereign wealth funds, and billionaire owners invested heavily in clubs. Some brought necessary capital, refurbished stadiums, and created global strategies. Others raised governance questions. Who controls a club? To what extent can owners extract value? Clubs such as Manchester City, Paris Saint-Germain, and some Spanish and Italian sides illustrate how investment can accelerate competitive power. Recently, Real Madrid became the first club to pass the Euro 1 billion revenue mark in a season, underlining how commercial savvy, stadium upgrades, and on-pitch success translate into record numbers. These investments reshape competitive balance and bring sport into conversations about geopolitics, national identity, and capital markets. One of the most promising developments is the commercialization of women's football. Growing viewership, improved broadcast deals, and more corporate sponsorships have begun to create significant revenue streams for clubs and competitions. As commercial interest grows, so too does investment in facilities, salaries, and marketing, opening a new chapter where inclusion and profitability need not be mutually exclusive. So where does football go from here? The industry faces questions: regulation versus market freedom, fan rights versus shareholder returns, sustainable spending versus the temptation of short-term success. We already see responses: stricter financial controls, revised governance frameworks, fan representation in club decisions, and a stronger push toward responsible ownership. The game's future likely depends on balancing private capital's appetite with the public interest in preserving football's communal soul. Football's transformation into a billion-dollar industry was not inevitable. It was built decade by decade, by broadcasters who lit up screens, by clubs who learned to sell themselves, by brands that sought global audiences, and by fans who made it worth watching. Yes, the money's enormous. Yes, the pressures are real. But beneath the revenue models and balance sheets are fans, families, kids, communities who still gather in streets and stadiums because football, at its heart, is about belonging. The challenge now is to make sure the billions serve the game, not just the balance sheet. Because if football is to remain the world's game, its value must include more than money. It must also protect memory, identity, and the joy millions still find in a ball rolling across a patch of grass. This was part 1 of this video. The second part will be more interesting than this one. If you like what we do, then please like and share this video. Must subscribe to Footara Moves Our channel. See you at the next one.